Hello all. Well, today's Earth Day. Back in 1963, I took part in the very first Earth Day. I have pictures of it. I'm just a little kid then, about a teenager. And I remember at that time thinking how great Earth Day was going to be to save the planet. And it didn't take long after that to realize that that was just some political stuff that politicians used to look great on Earth Day. But in reality, not much happens on Earth Day to fix things. Now Biden is having his virtual summit today. Will anything happen? Will anything positive come out of this? Or is it just more political nonsense that just to appease the sheeple on the left? But here in California, we're cool, 47 degrees, foggy, cold, windy, a little bit drizzly. Go up this way and do our next video. All right, 101 scientists, educators, and environmentalists urge world leaders to keep fossil fuels in the ground. Now, they've been urging this for some time, but it doesn't seem to be holding because the almighty dollar's in play, and when money's involved, common sense goes out the window. Yeah, common sense, something that doesn't even exist anymore. Of course, everybody knows that fossil fuels are the greatest contributor to climate change. That's why you have to attack the fossil fuel industry to deal with the climate problem. It's recommended to phase out fossil fuel production starting now. Invest in renewable energy. That has a caveat to it. The burning of fossil fuels is responsible for almost 80% of the CO2 emissions since 1850. Failure to meet temperature limits of 1.5 pushes the world towards catastrophic global warming. Fossil fuels is a global problem and needs a global solution. So let's look at this temperature chart. From 2011 to 2020 is the warmest decade on record. But the real problem is the banks. The big banks keep funding oil and gas exploration projects, along with building plastic plants and that type of thing. They are heavily indebted to fossil fuel companies. What can we do about that? Of course, go over to a credit union instead, but make sure you study your credit unions before you just go into one. They can be just as heisty and bad as regular banks. So another place that's heavily fossil fueled is the U.S. military and other militaries around the world. The U.S. military uses 4.6 billion U.S. gallons, 48,000 liters a day. How much fuel does the farming industry use? A ton. Everything that a farmer does is fossil fuel intensive on the land. Now, if we were to switch over to indoor farming, then we could get rid of almost 3/4 of the fossil fuel use by the farming industry. If we were to get rid of wars and military actions, we could get rid of a huge amount of fossil fuel use. But the real question, is there really such thing as renewable energy? At this time, very, very little, because it takes fossil fuel to build all the infrastructure and the equipment that's renewable, or quoted as renewable. Actual renewables have so far to go before they'll even begin to take over fossil fuels. The wind and the drizzle is really coming on strong now, so I think we'll head back. But I hope Biden doesn't just use this as a prop and he actually does something. He is reversing some of Trump's horrible decisions on the environment, but that's kind of going slowly, and he's not getting onto it very fast yet. But time's a wasting, Biden. It's time to get on the fossil fuel and get rid of it, and fast. He's saying that by 2030 we're going to be 50% less dependent on fossil fuel. I really question that. We've talked before on this channel about how, let's say, wind energy is supposed to be so good for the environment, but yet the blades are made of composite materials such as fiberglass, which isn't very recyclable yet, if ever. So they have to be either ground up and thrown in the dump or just thrown in the dump the way they are. So a big change would have to be to change what the blades are made out of, and to make that out of renewable energy. Long way to go. So I appreciate all your guys' comments on the last videos, the ups, the downs, and new subscribers. YouTube, we need some new music. All the music you're allowing us to use is getting old, and you haven't updated any music yet. Have you, Google, have you forgotten all about YouTube? It's just an ad mall now, and screw the people that are on it. YouTube and Google. What a depressing thought, huh? Alright guys, I'll see you next time.